Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is Kiva Leatherman. I'm the Chief Experience Officer here at Eyes Wide Open Life, and really excited for today's hangout. I am excited to learn from Marissa, here with my pen, ready to take notes today, because this is important information for all of us. It's really, to my mind, the cutting edge of building our personal brands to be doing that on Facebook. And I know Marissa is going to be giving us very specific content, actionable things that we can put into play right away today on our call. So let me tell you a little bit about Marissa. Yes.
Oh, that's the video you got to close in the background.
I'm talking to myself.
Yes, yes, yes. All right.
God, it's descending from above. So let me go ahead and tell you about Marissa so that we can dive right in and let her start teaching. Marissa Murgatroyd is the founder of Live Your Message, where she shows entrepreneurs with a big message for the world how to build a leading brand and lucrative web presence. In fact, she has done this for our very own Alexis Neely at 4'11" and a quarter. I love that. She's known as the shortest woman in marketing, but that doesn't stop her from having huge ideas. Her no-nonsense approach has earned her a reputation as a results getter for leading-edge clients such as Dan Crowther, Alexis Neely, Michelle Schnubel, Morgana Ray, and Evan Katz. Today, Marissa's purpose and passion lies in helping emerging entrepreneurs launch themselves online through her signature training programs, Message to Money, Hidden Story Power, and the Superhero Summits that I know a lot of you saw through our emails and played with just in this last month. She's also produced dozens of large-scale award-winning projects for clients like the Getty Museum, PBS, UCLA, and the state of California. Cumulatively, these projects have moved over 75,000 units and generated over $1 million in sales. She's won over 30 industry awards, including 2 Tellys. Marissa graduated from Brown with a BA in semiotics. Wow, I don't know what that is. It's apparently the study of cultural symbols and signs. So you've learned something new already. And a master's in communication art and design from the Royal College of Art in London. She and her husband, Murray, are currently location-independent entrepreneurs running their business from the road, and that's where I got to meet you, hanging out in Boulder while you guys were running your business from the road. So it's really a pleasure to have you here, Marissa, and I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to you. And you guys, I'll be managing the chat, so make sure that you're connected with us there and asking your questions.
Thank you so much, and I really am stoked to be here. I love Alexis and Kiva and Amrita and the whole Eyes Wide Open collective. So as Kiva said, to get to the chat, it's just to the right of the video, and all you got to do is log on with Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter, and that's going to let you just interact with us here today, ask your questions. I'm definitely going to do some Q&A at the end. I love doing Q&A. It's so much fun to answer your questions. And in case you haven't been on a live streaming Google Hangout on air before, if for whatever reason the audio hangs up or the video kind of stalls for a moment, that could happen just because you've got a little blip in your internet connection. So the best way to fix that is to refresh your browser. So that solves the problem most of the time. If for whatever reason you're just having a bad internet day, you can come back at the end of this training and the replay will be right there on the page. But I hope you stick around live because we're going to have a lot of fun in the chat and a lot of good dialogue. So let's just do this. Let's just get started. What I'd like to talk about today is how to build, how to actually Facebook your way to a lucrative and loved personal brand. So here's what you guys are going to learn. And I'm going to show you how to use simple Facebook status updates to not just become known in your field, but to become unmistakable. So you can raise your fees and sell more. Plus how to go about creating a lucrative and loved personal brand, even if you're just getting started. So I know that's a lot of ground to cover, and I want to make sure that everybody's seeing my slides. So let me know in the chat that you are, because the visuals really help this presentation. So what I want to do is get started by saying a few really controversial things. And these may fly in the face of everything that the experts have told you and everything that you've learned up until now about how to make a living online with your knowledge, expertise, or advice. So first of all, and I say this with love, no one really cares about your expertise. And
Mm.
not only do they not care about what you know, whether you're the best at what you do isn't really the deciding factor in whether they choose to work with you or buy your stuff. And second, the thing that's stopping you from creating the business that you actually can see in your mind's eye, becoming the go-to expert in your field, and providing the lifestyle that you really want for yourself and your family, it's not any lack of skill, knowledge, training, degrees, or certifications. You already have everything that you need to be successful. And third, what really sets you apart from your competition is something else that's far more important than what you know or even what you do. And that's what this webinar is all about. So as that sinks in, I want to be clear about one thing. I'm not at all trying to say that your expertise or your skill doesn't matter. And I'm not implying that all the years that you spent mastering your craft have been wasted, because you definitely have to be awesome at what you do to succeed. And I know that you are. And that's why you're here today. So what I am saying is that your expertise is not the most important thing if you want to build a lucrative and loved personal brand. And what led me to this conclusion was my own experience of not being valued for what I knew. So let me tell you a quick story. The day that I was born, my dad started mutual funds for my college education. And when I got older, he told me two things. He said, Marisa, you can go to school anywhere you want as long as you work hard and get good grades. And he also told me that a good college education was my ticket to success in life, as if my career would just roll out at my feet the day I graduated. And I bought into that dream hook, line, and sinker. I became an overachiever. I had a 4.0 grade point average. I won over 6 different writing and photography contests in high school. I was a national merit semifinalist. The list goes on. So I chose to spend my nights and my weekends just devouring books. I read 100 books in a single year. And I had this habit of writing down every single word that I didn't know on the back of my bookmarks, right? And I thought if I just learned one more word, people were going to understand me that much better whenever I communicated my ideas. So the day came when I graduated from the Ivy League. It was 2000, and the first big internet boom had busted, so I applied for job after job after job, and I quickly discovered that pretty much 0 people gave a damn about my knowledge or my degree. I couldn't even get an interview. And remembering that now, it's like I think about the hundreds of other really smart, really talented people that I meet every year who are struggling to even get noticed. So let me ask you, have you ever thought that you deserve more recognition and more authority? Have you ever thought that you deserve better clients, paying you a lot more for what you do? Have you ever wondered why your talent and your expertise haven't translated into the kind of success that you were looking for when you first got started? So what's going on here? Is the world just a fundamentally unjust place? Of course it isn't. But that doesn't change the fact that history is pretty much full of brilliant people with life-changing ideas and life-changing talents, even life-changing solutions, who never got the recognition they deserved. So let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of Nikola Tesla? This guy was this genius from Croatia, and he invented all kinds of things that are super useful, things like alternating current, the spark plug, radio communication, and a lot more. But he was completely overshadowed by Thomas Edison. And I know you've definitely heard of Thomas Edison, because Thomas Edison successfully branded himself as the greatest inventor known to man. So Edison even he ripped off all of Tesla's ideas and claimed them as his own. So in the end, being super smart got Tesla nowhere. He died broke and unknown, while Edison became this rich and famous man, and he's still known as one of the most well-known inventors of all time. So, right? The truth began to dawn on me is that the marketplace, the marketplace does not need more experts. In this new world, the true competitive advantage belongs to leaders and visionaries who can move people to action. And when I unlock their secrets for you today, you're going to discover how you can become the kind of leader, the kind of visionary or messenger that your audience is not just looking for, but yearning for. You'll discover how you can build a business that has no competition for your ideal client. None. 0. And you'll also discover how you can nurture a repeat client base that's going to pay whatever you ask for your products and services, simply because they believe that you're the only one who can give them what they want and need. And of course, how can you do that with a simple Facebook status update, right? And if you want to do all of this, it's actually pretty simple. The first thing you need to understand is that there are actually three things that are far more important than what you know when it comes to making a massive impact in the world and building a personal brand that's lucrative and loved. So let me know in the chat if you're ready to find out what those things are, okay? Just let me know in the chat, and in the meantime, I'm going to continue a little bit with my story. So there I was, like Tesla, completely broke, and I was fresh out of the Ivy League, no job, and living with my dad. So one day he sat me down and he said very seriously, Marisa, I just spent $150,000 on your college education, and you don't have any marketable skills. So I did what any respectable Ivy League grad without any job prospects would do. I ran away and joined the circus. Seriously. I actually went and got a job with Cirque du Soleil. And my dad pretty much disowned me. How could he tell his friends that his Ivy League daughter had run away to join the circus? But it was at the circus that I realized that these performers with no college education knew something that I didn't. They knew that what you create, what you produce, is always more important to your success than your expertise. So let me give you an example. While it's important to Cirque du Soleil that their ribbon dancers are truly great, what's actually more important for the revenue is presenting those skills in the context of a packaged experience that their audience could appreciate. So in this case, it takes the form of a show. So at a combined revenue of something like over $1 billion a year, Cirque du Soleil have become the most successful circus on the planet thanks to the magical shows they create that go way beyond each individual act. They've literally transformed the way people experience the circus and how much they're willing to pay for that experience. Now, you may be asking, what does the circus have to do with creating a lucrative and loved personal brand? Well, here's the thing. Cirque du Soleil actually understands something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't. They know that being great at something isn't enough. They know that you have to take it and package it in the right way, into something new that your audience can consume and experience. And that's what adds value over and above the raw skill or expertise their performers have. So it's the actual feeling, the actual experience that's wrapped around their skills and expertise that's made Cirque du Soleil the largest and most successful circus in history. So what they produce is clearly so much more valuable to the marketplace than that raw talent of just the guy who spent years perfecting the perfect backflip, in his garage. So when it comes to creating a lucrative and loved personal brand, take a tip from the circus and create your own unique experience across all of your materials. So as an entrepreneur, here are the most common ways you can package what you do as an experience that doubles or even triples your value to the marketplace. So you can create an experience with your website and your visual branding, with your signature photos. You can create an experience in your emails and social media. And I'm going to give you a lot of specific strategies for doing this on Facebook. You can also create an experience in your videos, in your books, and in your products or offerings. Now, I don't recommend you try to do all of those things at once. It's just not possible. I recommend focusing on one or two that best package and showcase your expertise. So just pick one or two and do them really well, like Cirque du Soleil. Then you can always add more later. So I don't have time to go into how to craft an experience in each of these areas today, so I'm going to focus specifically on how to do this on social media, on Facebook. But first I want to finish the story of how I discovered what's more important to your success in business than knowledge and expertise, because this is what matters to your personal brand. So after a few months of fun times at the circus, watching them create and package experiences, I got the urge to do the same. So I headed over to London to the Royal College of Art, which is widely considered one of the top art and design schools in the world. A mecca for people who want to create real stuff like art and books and films. And I told myself that things would change for me if I learned how to create amazing things. I'd get noticed, and people would see my true value and pay me what I'm worth. So I spent 2 years in rainy, gray London, perfecting my craft. And I did classes in typography and graphic design and filmmaking. I won a few grants and awards. I flew to Brazil. I made my first documentary film. And for good measure, I got an arts degree. And then when my 2 years were up, I moved to Los Angeles and started applying for jobs in the film industry. So I had the skill and expertise, 2 degrees under my belt, and I'd created some crazy awesome stuff, right? Surely a big fat paycheck was going to be on its way to me now, right? But can you guess what happened? Nothing. I couldn't believe it. Still, nobody cared about how smart I was or about the stuff I'd created. Clearly, there was something else that was still missing. There was another piece of the puzzle there that had to be uncovered. So I longed to be recognized as an authority, celebrated for my talent, and get paid what I was worth. But clearly, there was something else that was still more important than what I knew and what I created. So while I set about discovering what it was, I took the only jobs I could find, laboring as a landscaper and waiting tables. And then on my very first day at a fancy restaurant in Topanga Canyon, California, something interesting happened. You know, the mother of a good friend happened to be having lunch with a friend of hers who got to chatting and let them know I was looking for a job in documentary film. And as it turns out, her husband had just started a new documentary film and was looking for a production assistant. So like 1 week later, I had the job. That one chance encounter with a friend of a friend led to a 7-year career in the film industry, where I eventually worked my way up from production assistant to director. And it came without me ever mentioning my degrees, my smarts, or all the amazing stuff I'd produced. And that's when it became crystal clear to me that the most important thing, the next most important thing, to building a lucrative and loved personal brand, after what you know and after what you produced, is who you know and the relationships that you have. Not just relationships with famous people who can open the door for you. I'm talking about the relationships you've got with your peers, with your clients, and with your tribe, or the people who choose to follow you. So building a lucrative and loved personal brand, it's not about a one-time transaction or one-way forms of communication like appearing on the news, which used to be the holy grail for experts around the world. It's about developing a real relationship with your tribe. So I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have 1,000 true fans engaging with me on Facebook in the way that I'm going to show you in just a moment than to be invited as a talking head expert on CNN, right? So if I only knew earlier that relationships were more important than what I knew and what I produced, then maybe I would have spent a little less time studying and a lot more time finding friends and mentors and maybe having a bit more fun too, but no regrets, right? I think all of life's experiences and challenges and struggles provide the bedrock for a future success. But as you can probably guess, we're not finished with the story just yet. So armed with these 3 concepts, what you know, what you produce, and who you know, I got to work. Over the past few years, I've pretty much focused on creating new relationships to build my business. And the business has tripled in size 3 years running. And during that time, I've let more of who I am shine through in the stories that I tell and in the videos that I make and put out into the world. And I started to get messages like this. I'm just trying to get a blog together to sell a cookbook, but you're inspiring me to do more. Don't really know what, but your enthusiasm is inspiring me to want to reach for the sky. Thank you, Dolores. So as amazing as that comment was, it was kind of weird too, because deep down I still thought people were following me because of my expertise. But here I was inspiring someone to change, to transform, to aim higher, to take action and come with me on a journey. And all I'd done was told a story about who I was. And then I saw another note on a Facebook group in response to this question. Think about an internet marketer that you admire for whatever reason. What is it that he or she does or knows that you would like to start doing? And someone named Ken that I don't even know and I've never met wrote this. I think Marisa Murgatroyd is my inspiration. I think I could be more like her if only I had the energy. I'm definitely a people person, and I fully believe in being genuine and friendly, building relationships with clients and customers. But sadly, I cannot seem to muster even a fraction of her energy. So did you notice what Ken admired me for? Was it my expertise? No, it wasn't. Ken admired me for my energy. My energy, not my ideas, not my smarts, not my expertise, my energy. So why? I can only imagine that Ken wanted more of that in his own life, in his business. And as a consequence, my stuff really stood out for him. And that's when it hit me. That's when I knew that that was the moment, that it really made sense. And I realized that the one most important thing of all, if you want to be a leader that inspires, a leader who has a huge impact on the world, and if you want to create a lucrative and loved personal brand, the most important thing of all is who you are and how you make people feel. So over the past year, I've begun to experiment with opening up and being even more vulnerable in my emails and in my videos. And my tribe has responded passionately. And that made me more than just another branding or marketing expert. I was becoming uniquely, unmistakably me. And that's the most powerful positioning that you can have in business. It's just so easy to spend decades or even your entire life, getting wicked good at your craft, really mastering what you do and going to seminar after seminar, getting certifications, PhDs, and it feels like progress. And more often than not, the better you are at what you do, the less you'll feel the need for all that touchy-feely stuff. It's easy to think that people are just going to naturally see how brilliant you are and want to work with you. But if you're struggling to get your message out and to get those customers in the door, then you could be hiding behind your knowledge and expertise and forgetting to show who you are in business. And we all want to do business with human beings. We don't want to do business with machines or call centers. We want to know who we're working with. So these are the 4 elements of your personal brand blueprint. And while what you know and what you do, what you create and who you are definitely important, and who you know are definitely important, who you are is the key and the driving factor in all of this. So far from being, touchy-feely, the nonverbal who you are and how you make people feel elements are actually your most valuable business assets. They're responsible for up to 80% of people's buying decisions. So in other words, just 20% of the impact that you've got and the impression you make is based on what you know. And the rest, 80%, is all about who you are, who you know, and what you produce. So I'm going to devote the rest of this webinar to showing you specifically how to cultivate a few key aspects of what you create, who you know, and who you are, so you can finally stand out and be noticed. So it's important to point out that there's a lot packed inside of each of these 4 areas of your personal brand, and I'm not going to have time to cover everything, but you are going to see some specific examples of how you can use Facebook to really powerfully show your audience who you are in a way that inspires people to like and engage with you, to respect you, connect with you, and finally do business with you. And all using nothing but a few simple status updates. Sound good? All right, so let's dive in. Here is a recent Facebook status update from video marketing expert Matthew Peters. So this is just a casual post on his personal profile to 1,441 friends, not even his fan page. And within just a few hours, it got 51 likes and over a dozen comments. This is a really great example of what it looks like to lead with who you are, rather than hiding behind your expertise, as well as the kind of response that you get when you step forward, and how to use Facebook status updates to build your personal brand in the marketplace. So the post definitely makes you feel something, and it's a terrific example of the power of leading with who you are before what you know. Heading to the gym on my motorcycle. My mom bought this bike new for my dad back in 1981 when we lived on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. My dad gave up a lot to go from working in a lab in the city with his college degree to having the lab job and running a dairy farm due to family obligations. 9 years of work on a dairy in the 1980s was probably just about the toughest time for farmers since the Depression era. He was paying 21% interest on his loans and dealing with sick cows, broken machinery, cows calving, planting, harvesting, working from 4:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. FYI, cows don't take vacations. This motorcycle means much more than transportation to me. For my dad, I believe that his stepping away from the farm duties for a few minutes on his motorcycle was his taste of freedom. It was his vacation. I cannot fathom the stress that he woke up to face at 4:30 in the heat and cold and endured every single day. So when people tell me about their first world problems, that people are not flocking to their business, or they complain about not locking their loan in at 3.5%, I think about growing up on the farm and what my dad stepped up to do, to provide, to sacrifice himself and put his agenda and dreams in life on hold for his family. No comparison. Thank you, Dad. So let that one sink in for a moment. Pretty powerful, right? Now let me ask you a question. What does this post reveal to you? Does this post show you the kind of man Matthew is? Yes or no? Let me know what you think in the chat box, okay? So for me, the post tells me that Matthew's healthy, he respects his body because he's on his way to the gym, and that his family is really important to him. He's got huge respect for his parents, and he definitely has a solid work ethic. And that's something that resonates with me. Also, his mention of the loan payments at 21% imply that if he makes a commitment, he's going to honor it no matter the cost. And finally, Matthew seems grounded, like he lives in the real world, knowing what's actually important in life. This is a guy I would not only want to do business with, this is a guy I'd like to hang out with, to have a beer with. So for me, this gives a really great sense of Matthew's values, where he comes from, and what he stands for. So do you guys agree with me? Let me know in the chat. And one final question. Does this post make you more or less likely to reach out to Matthew? So all in all, this is a pretty great example of conveying the key elements of your personal brand in compelling status updates that are going to get massive engagement, attract your ideal customers, and grow your business fast. So as you saw, the language and words that you use in your status updates can reveal what you value in life. Do you value serving others, or are you in it purely for self-gain? Your language can reveal if you're fired up about what you do, or if you're just going through the motions. Your words also reveal your underlying beliefs, prejudices, or biases, whether you intend to or not. Your choice of words can even inspire people to follow you and ultimately buy from you, or to click away and never look back. So if you've never really thought that much about your words and how you're coming across to others, this can be tricky to really internalize and get right. But here's the thing. We live in a world where anything you say or do can be used either for or against you. And whether you know it or not, a single status update has the power to send you to the big time or to end your career. So in case you think I'm exaggerating, listen to this. Last December, PR executive Justine Sacco fired off a quick tweet before she boarded a flight to South Africa. Going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white. So Justine only had a few hundred Twitter followers, but the tweet went viral anyway. During the 12 hours she was on the plane, completely oblivious to the firestorm that she'd created, the tweet went viral. Her following spiked, and reporters actually headed to the airport to greet her on arrival. So as soon as Justine realized what a huge scandal she created with her offhand comment, she deleted the tweet and her account and made a formal apology. But it was too late. She had already lost her job, appeared in videos and headlines across the internet, and even received some death threats. So one CNN journalist who reported on the story wrapped up his video broadcast with an observation. I worked with Justine for a few years as a reporter, asking her questions about her company. But I never knew the side of her that appeared on Twitter. But I guess that's the point. Until people started to notice, she was relatively safe in obscurity. So let me repeat that. Until people started to notice, she was relatively safe in obscurity. The reason why this is so important, and the reason I bring this up, is because as soon as you step forward as the face and voice of your brand, people are gonna start noticing. And the more successful you become, the more people will take notice. And that's a good thing, because that means you're making a difference with who you are and what you know. It also means that you have to take full responsibility for who you are and what you know. So how do you go about doing this for yourself? How do you actually translate all that you are and reduce it to the size of a status update? The key to creating a lucrative and loved personal brand is to start to become aware of your energy, your feeling tone. In other words, how do you naturally come across? How do you show up? How do you make people feel? For example, the post I just read from Matthew Peters. Did you get a sense of Matthew's distinct feeling tone when I read his update? Once you've identified your feeling tone, and I'm going to give you some great pointers on exactly how to do that in just a moment, so you can actually easily and freely make a conscious choice to accentuate that tone and literally become more of who you are. Amplifying those unique parts of yourself that really stand out. The parts of you that really and truly differentiate you from everybody else who does what you do. Those parts that resonate with others. So doing this means that you can step forward as the face and voice of your brand and truly lead with who you are in an inspirational way, in a way that actually inspires other people to become more of who they are. So let me now give you an example of how one man found his unique feeling tone, all right? How many of you know the legendary singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen? He's sometimes called the musical poet and the troubadour of the 20th century. So believe it or not, Leonard Cohen, well, he wasn't always Leonard Cohen. And when he first got started as a young singer-songwriter, he consciously created a brand around himself and his music that he thought people would like. Music that he thought would sell, right? And he failed miserably. So he joined a Zen Buddhist monastery to figure out where his life was going and what he needed to change. So one day he went up to his Zen master Roshi and asked him why he was struggling, why he was unhappy, and why his music career just wasn't taking off. So Roshi, he listened to Leonard's question, and then asked to hear his music. So Leonard brought in a little boombox and played him some music. The monk listened kind of thoughtfully, as monks do, for a little bit, and then he turned to Leonard and he said, Leonard, you should sing sadder. We're all blind to how other people see us. And Roshi could see what Leonard couldn't see. Roshi could see that the true Leonard was somebody who was deeply melancholy, someone truly affected by the world. And he could see that it was both his blessing and his curse. Leonard thought that no one would want to hear what he thought was a sad man singing sad songs in sad times. He thought it would just bum people out. But Roshi saw something different. Roshi knew that sadness was the core essence of who Leonard was, the unique feeling tone that was his and his alone. And it just so happened that there were millions of other people in the world who resonated with Leonard's deep poetic sadness, his longing, and his melancholy. So the moment Leonard let that feeling tone shine through in his work and began to sing sadder, he pretty much instantly had that lucrative and loved personal brand. The lesson here is that regardless of who you are, regardless of your traits and characteristics, there are people who are going to resonate with them. Like there are millions of people in the world who resonate with Leonard Cohen's particular brand of sadness. So let me give you another example of feeling tone from the world of business and entrepreneurship, and how it can show up in the form of Facebook status updates. So Leela Cosgrove is a successful Australian internet marketer. She's got tattoos running up and down her arms and this like blonde gray bob cut with a shock of pink hair. So just this year, legendary internet marketers like Frank Kern and Ryan Deiss hired Leela. So what is her feeling tone? Believe it or not, Leela is known and loved for being abrasive, for telling it like it is, and pardon the expression, having a bit of an F you attitude. So let's take a look at how this feeling tone shows up on Leela's Facebook page. So Leela's got a public figure fan page on Facebook where she lists her role as monarch and describes herself as the Minister for Propaganda and Strategic Anarchy. I help entrepreneurs to double their business in 12 months. And it gets better. So when I checked, the first 2 posts on her Facebook page are this: only idiots spend money advertising for likes. See, only Leela can call people idiots and get dozens of likes and positive comments. And her next post is, it's not about how much money you have. It's not even about whether it can help. I can help, sorry. It's about whether you're a good fit for my business. And if you're not, I don't care how much money you have or how much I could help you. I'm going to reject you. I choose my clients, and I'm super picky. So great marketing tactic, right? Tell people you're going to reject them if they're not a good fit, regardless of how much money they've got and whether that you can help them. So Leela's voice just drips attitude that seems to attract that hardcore, no BS internet marketing crowd in droves. So I'm not saying you should be melancholy like Leonard Cohen or abrasive like Leela Cosgrove. I'm saying to be more of who you are already, to turn up the volume on the feeling tone that permeates everything you do, whether you're aware of it or not. So let me take a quick sip of water, and then I'm going to give you another example. So business strategist Suzanne Evans has a no-nonsense feeling tone, just like Leela Cosgrove, but she mixes it up with a spoonful of, like change the world style inspiration. So it's a really distinctive flavor of kind of get off your ass and make stuff happen. And the writing just shines through. So you can actually strip away all of the branding from her email. You could remove her signature at the bottom, and you'd still know that it came from her. So can you imagine being that clear about the feeling tone of your personal brand voice? So clear that it carries through everything you say and write. So clear, in fact, that you become not just remarkable, but unmistakable in a marketplace full of voices clamoring for attention. Now, I want you to imagine what could happen if you took that concept and you applied it to Facebook, specifically to a Facebook status update. With Facebook, every single one of us has a golden opportunity that's never existed before in history to regularly, and I mean daily, talk to thousands of people about your values and your beliefs with a voice that's your own and nobody else's. When you regularly share key details from your life, people start to feel like they know you. Not the guru or the expert, but the real you. So each time you talk to your audience in this way, you become more unmistakable and memorable. And in the process, one step closer to a lucrative and loved personal brand. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to it. Now that you're beginning to have a sense of your unique energy and feeling tone, what else do you need to put into those status updates of yours to really spark engagement, to inspire love and devotion from your tribe, and to bring in the new customers and sales? So to help you figure this out, I've created 3 easy-to-follow steps that show you exactly what to post and the right way to post it. So let me give you each step quickly, then I'm going to dive in and illustrate each one. So step 1 is make an image post. Step 2, kiss the lead. And this one sounds intriguing, I know, and I'm going to explain it in just a second. In step 3, the story. So let's dive into see how this actually works in practice. So if you don't know me yet, I like to teach with really detailed examples when it comes to this stuff, because I don't think that general advice that a lot of the experts give, like, incorporate personal stories and share details from your life, I don't think those kinds of big, broad suggestions are all that helpful. If you really want to understand what it means to express your personal brand through your posts, then we got to get specific here, okay? So let's start by analyzing Matthew Peters' amazing post that I shared with you earlier. Then we're going to go into a few of my favorite examples of establishing your personal brand through Facebook. So step 1, it needs to be an image post. On Facebook, you got to grab attention fast, and the best way to do that is with an image post. They get 10 times more attention than regular text posts. So what kind of image should you use? There are 2 rules. Your image must evoke curiosity, while at the same time reinforcing your personal brands. So in his post, Matthew used a picture of his dad's motorcycle, which supported the post that he wrote, telling the story behind that motorcycle. So looking at the photo, you would never guess the history behind that very ordinary looking bike, right? And that's exactly the point. He piqued your curiosity. Step 2 is to kiss the lead. So in anything you write, there's nothing more important than the first sentence. Think of it like your headline. And you got to pull them in. In journalism lingo, the lead is your opening thought, right? And the expression is you got to kiss the lead, so people start reading and they can't stop. So Matthew kisses his lead by sharing a specific, and that's really important, specific, evocative moment. So and it flashes us back to his past and takes his readers with him. So you can't help but follow, right? He evokes curiosity with a really few specific key details, like when and where the bike was purchased and under what conditions. For example, Matthew doesn't say the bike was purchased in the 1980s in Wisconsin. Boring. He says, my mom bought this bike for my dad new back in 1981 when we lived on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. Story coach and Broadway star Bo Eason always says that the more specific you are, the more universal you become. And the level of specific detail Matthew uses here makes all the difference in how he pulls you into his story. Because as Matt shares specific details about his dad, you think about your dad. When he shares a specific story from his childhood, it's like you can't help but flash back to your childhood. And that's why telling stories from your life, you allow people to actually bypass their inner critic and connect deeply with the emotion that's there for them in their own lives. And by association, to connect you with that emotion. So the final step here is to share a story, an incident, a moment in time with enough specific details that pull in the reader, keeps them reading, gets them inspired, and even compels them to engage in some way. So in our example, Matthew continues his story by filling his post from beginning to end with more specific details like the exact time his dad woke up and the exact amount of interest his dad paid on loans. And it's these hyper-specific details that allow you to connect with Matthew in a really deep way, rather than some vague, I grew up poor in Wisconsin kind of way. Do you see the difference? This is all about showing rather than telling. The more you show the details of your life, the more people see you in their mind's eye and form their own opinions about you. This forms a deep level of connection and trust beyond anything that you can manufacture yourself. So instead of telling us that he grew up poor in Wisconsin, where all that really matters is family, he shows us by giving details, characters, events, and memories. And he takes his time in doing it too, right? His post is relatively long by Facebook standards, 247 words. But people read it from beginning to end because he's showing them a glimpse into his dad's world, full of specific details that allow them to form an image in their minds and feel something. Ever notice that no matter how busy we get in our day-to-day lives, we've always got time for a story? And I saw someone in the chat posting, I would never read something that long. Well, the thing is, you wouldn't read something that long if it was boring, but doing what I just showed you to do, including the image, kissing the lead, incorporating specific stories, is what keeps your readers reading over and over and over again, and like continuing to the bottom of the post. And long is the new short on Facebook. The long posts are getting the most attention. All right, so now you may be wondering what Matthew's story had to do with business. So on the surface, nothing, right? Which is paradoxically what makes the story really work for him. And here's why. Matthew is a high-end, high-paid business coach. He advises people on creating a lifestyle business based on their expertise. And what this post powerfully does is show the difference between his life and his dad's life, and the difference between being in debt and being obliged to work a second job to pay your bills to support your family, and Matthew's life of freedom, illustrated by riding his bike to the gym. So in this one post, Matthew manages to powerfully convey his values and certain themes of his life. On the surface, it tells you that Matthew is a homeboy from Wisconsin, right? It tells you that he grew up poor, but also very importantly, he never made himself into a victim. And if you dig a little deeper, you get the sense that Matthew is a real family man, which he is. His posts are always full of photos of his beautiful wife and his kids, And he's also riding a motorcycle to the gym, right? So you get the feeling that Matthew's fit and he likes a good adventure. You see, everything in this post reinforces Matthew's background and gives him massive credibility, not through his expertise, but through his humanity. So reading this post, you get the sense that Matthew is a really good, really kind man, someone that you like and trust, and someone you wouldn't mind hanging out with. And let me tell you, if you know Matthew, that's exactly who he is. So did people respond to this post? You bet they did. This one casual post on his personal profile to 1,464 friends got 53 likes and 12 comments. And finally, the fourth thing that Matthew Peters does is he ends his post in a way that relates back to his audience and to what he does. It actually challenges people to appreciate what they have. So when people today tell me about their first world problems, that people are not flocking to the business, or complain about not locking their loan in at 3.5%, I think about growing up on the farm and what my dad stepped up to do, to provide, to sacrifice himself, and put his agenda and dreams on life on hold for his family. No comparison. Thank you, Dad. So just take a moment and absorb that one more time. Matthew's actually stepping up to lead his tribe here and inspiring them to become better and become more. He's challenging them to put aside their gripes and appreciate what they have. Now let me ask you, if you were in the market for a business coach, if you're someone who resonated with that story, would you consider hiring Matthew based on what you know about him? Of course you would, and all without a hint of feeling sold to. So let me give you another example of this 3-step approach to writing a Facebook status update so it really sinks in. This one is from the brand photographer Marshall Wayne, who's my absolute favorite person to follow on Facebook. Marshall is a master at turning every day of his life into a memorable and shareable occasion, and there are several best practices he uses that are truly remarkable from a personal branding perspective that we can all learn from. First is that Marshall is constantly featuring his client work on Facebook in a way that, instead of being all about how awesome he is, shows how awesome his clients are. Instead of focusing on himself 100% of the time like most people do, Marshall is constantly giving shout-outs to his clients in a way that makes you want to be his client. So remember that who you know and the relationships you have is the second most important part of personal branding. So regardless of what kind of business you're in, Giving public shout outs to your partners, clients, and customers is a super powerful way to position the awesomeness of your own work while featuring someone other than you. Whether you call it reverse social proof, credibility by association, or stealth positioning, it works. So here's an example of this where Marshall showcases the results of his work for his client, Eric Daniel, in a way that makes it super compelling to want to hire Marshall. So let's dissect this. First up, you've got step 1, the photo, and this one speaks for itself. Step 2, kiss the lead. You're going to notice how Marshall kisses his lead by sharing an outcome that any man would want. 258 shares, 409 likes, and 120 friend requests on this image already. Plus, he also got some juicy feedback from women in private messages. Intriguing, right? And third comes the story. So I'm going to read the rest of his post here before we analyze exactly what he's doing to get so much engagement. Eric and I are working on a new website for him that's going to blow away what people are used to seeing. In the meantime, since that takes a while, we figured we'd do some quote images just for fun. So over an hour ago, he came to me with this idea. We grabbed a photo we'd done from a photo shoot we did last year in San Diego and added the text we'd seen from a TI quote, "Done." So the reason this simple post is so effective is that Marshall is not only showcasing his work and illustrating the results of his work, he's also sharing some behind-the-scenes information from his photo shoot with Eric Daniel that makes this post seem personal rather than promotional. So we all love that behind-the-scenes stuff. Finding out how something was created makes us feel a little bit more in the know and kind of fulfills our curiosity about people. Now, a final yet really important piece of personal branding genius that Marshall does to reinforce his work on Facebook is to powerfully model his work. So in this case, he uses his post to showcase his spectacular branding photography to the world. So remember how we talked about the 4 parts of your personal brand blueprint? What you create is a powerful illustration of what you do for people. And it's amazing how many people forget to model their own work. So Marshall's a brand photographer, right? And he's constantly creating and posting iconic photographs of himself. Makes sense, right? So every photograph he posts of himself actually reinforces what he does by showing his passion for his work. So here's one last example that got Marshall 121 likes and 82 comments. So step 1. Of course, we've got an awesome photograph as his image post, right? You'd expect nothing less from a brand photographer. Step 2, kiss the lead. And then you've got Marshall's lead, and it basically builds massive intrigue and curiosity. There's an unwritten rule in Wisconsin that you can't visit for longer than a month without shooting something. Well, I've hit that limit. And step 3, story. So Marshall continues his post by sharing the process and the philosophy behind his work in a way that's relatable, transparent, and vulnerable. So he pulls back the cloak and allows us to look in. If I'm going to kill something, I'm going to do it in style. In truth, this is a nod to an iconic photo shoot Steve McQueen did for Life magazine. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to capture that iconic essence, that magic that certain people have. Emulating iconic photos helps me reverse engineer that magic. And then finally, there's something important I want you to notice at the end of the story. So even though I threw my icon engineering system video together in haste, I don't like it as it is. I'll redo soon. It gives insight into what I do. iconengineeringsystem.com. So do you see how Marshall manages to promote his icon engineering course here without even seeming to promote it? Instead, you feel drawn in by him, intrigued to learn more, and all without feeling sold to at all. So is this giving you any ideas for how you can model your work in a way that showcases your products and services without being directly promotional? In other words, how can you showcase your work in a way that seems natural and unobtrusive, that pulls people in rather than pushing them away, so you can sell more while making a difference in people's lives? Are you starting to see the possibilities for using Facebook to create deep relationships with your tribe based on who you are rather than what you know? So let me know in the comments box if you've had any ahas so far, and we'd like to read them out in a second, okay? So I'd love to know. So let me just take a sip of water, and while I'm waiting for that, I want you to understand something that's really important here. I need you to understand that your business is not your products. It's not your logo. Your business is really nothing but the gut feeling or the mental image that comes to mind when your customers hear your name, land on your website, receive an email from you, any one of a million other things, right? So it's a collection of vivid and potent associations in the hearts and minds of your audience that makes them want to connect strongly with you. That's all there is, really. And that's why you need to do everything in your power to be the conscious author of the first impression that you make when you walk into a room. What they say and think about you before they meet you and after you leave the room. The feeling tone you project in everything you do, in every email you write, every conversation, every video, and on and on and on. The consistent impression that you're making day after day. Not just the first impression, anybody can make a first impression, but the second impression and the third and the fourth and the fifth and every single impression you make on people every single day. So this process works no matter who uses it. CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, artists, well-known experts, change agents, they all have used this process to consciously create a personal brand that mattered to people. And it can work for you too. All you have to do is figure out those handful of unique qualities and attributes that make you who you are in a way that matters to people. Then amplify them. Make a consistent impression that's reinforced over and over again until others can picture you in their mind's eye, describe you and feel you like they can connect with you, even if they've never met you before. Do this and you'll automatically become memorable and irreplaceable. And your audience will have no choice but to take notice. So packaging and marketing yourself as if you already were a brand or an icon is exactly what personal branding is all about. And it's kind of funny how it works. So how does this look like when it all comes together? You know, what does it look like when you have a well-developed personal brand? How do you feel in the presence of someone who's got this dialed in? What I'm going to do now is to give you a few examples that you'll instantly recognize of well-known business leaders with powerful personal brands. So picture in your mind for a second Steve Jobs. Imagine his impeccable, round, almost invisible glasses. His black crew neck shirt tucked into a casual pair of jeans. Now imagine the iPhone 5 or the new MacBook Pro, impossibly thin, minimal, sleek, at the cutting edge of technology and performance, so desirable that you want to be seen with these products. So effective that once you use them, you can't live without them. They literally become part of your everyday life, part of your lifestyle, your identity. Can you imagine any other man who would create, who could have created these products? Can you guess what Steve Jobs' personal values are? If I were to take a stab at it, I'd imagine their innovation, simplicity, and excellence. Now picture Oprah Winfrey in your mind for a moment. Picture her perfectly coiffed hair and her wide, infectious smile. Feel the deep, strong inner confidence she radiates. Imagine her sitting cross-legged on that famous beige couch in a pair of shiny heels and a chic yet modest and professional dress or suit. She doesn't have the trimmest, fittest figure, but she loves herself for who she is, and she loves us for who we are. She's had many looks over the 25 years that she hosted the Oprah Winfrey Show, but what came across over the years went well beyond how she looks. Oprah captivates us with her spirit, her energy, and her love. Her unique gift for making people feel seen, understood, and accepted, regardless of how far they've transgressed or how hopeless they may feel. And by projecting this energy year after year and evoking these feelings in our audience, Oprah's become the most trusted and admired woman in America. So can anyone guess Oprah's core values? I imagine they involve love, acceptance, compassion, self-realization, and humility. So how many of you were able to follow along with me and really picture these two people? Let me know in the chat. Were you able to picture these people in your mind's eye as I described them? Did you actually feel anything when you heard their names and pictured them? The interesting thing is that I never met Steve, and I've never met Oprah, but yet I was able to describe them in a way that you could really see in your mind's eye. And even though you probably never met them either, my descriptions tapped into associations that you already had of them. This is how personal branding perpetuates itself, spreading like wildfire from one person to the next. You make a deep, lasting impression on someone, then reinforce that impression day after day, and eventually they buy from you. They tell someone about you, and they refer business to you. Now, I know these are big examples, and the only reason I use such big examples here is I wanted to highlight people that all of you would instantly know and recognize. But for now, can you see how Steve Jobs and Oprah consciously shaped every aspect of their business around who they are? Do you see how they modeled their work, the companies they run, and the products they sell? Do you see how their physical appearance supported their message and brand? And do you see just how memorable each of them are? Now, can I ask you, do you think it's a coincidence that each one of these entrepreneurs have built multi-billion-dollar businesses? CelebrityNetWorth.com estimates that Oprah is worth $2.9 billion and Jobs is worth $10.2 billion when he died. So do you think their respective companies, Harpo Productions and Apple, could have scaled to the heights they have without their leaders at the helm? Absolutely not. These companies are as valuable as they are precisely because they are so intimately connected with their founders, the person who dreamed them into being. You could even call them personality-based businesses. And your number one job in your personality-based business is to be you. Being more of who you are fundamentally differentiates you in the market and elevates you from company to companion, from expertise or product to passion. It allows you to carve a place in the hearts and minds of your audience, just like our two icons did. Okay, Marisa, if it's this easy, then why doesn't everyone do it? Why isn't everyone stepping up as the face and voice of their business and their brand? So there are three big reasons that I can see. And the first one is simple. Most people are kind of modest, and they associate this kind of stuff with being big-headed, egotistical, self-important, and we've seen so many examples of celebrities being smeared across the tabloids doing like ghastly things in the hopes of getting attention. But here's the honest truth, and it's going to go against all common sense, but stick with me here, okay? So the honest truth is that the more you put yourself out there, the less it becomes about you, and the more you become a stand for those who are willing and ready to accept the call to adventure or transformation that you offer. And the thing is, your personal brand is not really about you. Instead, it's about what you represent, and that's the paradox. A great personal brand is about helping people to see new and better possibilities and futures for themselves. It's about standing for something important and challenging people to travel the path with you. If you dare to do that, you'll allow people to make a clear choice in response to your challenge, whether that's a yes or a no. You'll know that you're doing it right when more and more people start to follow you and engage with you. And the other way, and this is a bit controversial, but the other way that you're going to know that you're on the right track is when people start to criticize or respond to your challenge with anger or aggression. This simply means that they're not ready to commit to change, and their criticism is a projection of their own fears and insecurities and have nothing to do with you. And the second reason people sometimes don't feel that comfortable stepping forward as the face and voice of their personal brand is that they feel like they might lose touch with who they are or become something that they're not. And I can't blame anyone for feeling this way, since if you look at how successful people are portrayed and stereotyped in the media, from the heartless executive who outsources the entire workforce to India, right, to the teen starlets walking in Beverly Hills with their toy dogs. And what about the stereotype of the artist who's starving because he refused to sell out? These stereotypes suggest that you only have two choices available to you. Either you're broke and authentic or you're rich and a sellout. And you know what? It's not only possible to be both successful and real, but it's easily achievable if you use my framework, if you use this personal brand blueprint, okay? And the third biggest reason we don't step forward as the face and voice of our brand is that we don't know how. This process isn't something that comes naturally to most people, and sometimes it takes guidance from a pro to figure out the best road to take. And to make matters even worse, most of the expensive advice that you're going to get from the so-called personal branding gurus ultimately boils down to cliched and trite pieces of advice like be authentic and just be you. While I do think it's important to be authentic and to be you, I actually think these statements are pretty unhelpful and actually misleading. And here's why. Personal branding is all about identifying and magnifying the best version of yourself without changing your values or the essence of who you are. Just becoming more of who you are. At its core, personal branding is about stepping into your role as messenger and owning the qualities that allow you to lead and make an impact on the world. So let me give you an example. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of shy. I don't like to talk about myself, and being the center of attention doesn't really feel like me. So neither did stepping on stage and leading my first 2-day live solo event last October. Or most of the things that we've done this year to triple our business from $175,000 a year in 2012 to $500,000 in 2013 to what looks like our first $1 million year. So what I've discovered in the process is this. Your message and brand are bigger than you. They're bigger than your fears, but they still have to pass through you. And that requires you to step up and amplify the best of who you are, your highest potential, what makes you different in a way that matters to people and resonates with your tribe. If people don't believe you, the messenger, then they won't believe your message. If you don't model your work in the way that I've shown you today, or if you're not congruent with the message and brand that you're putting out into the world, then you're probably in the wrong business. If you can't be the poster child for your brand, speaking your message day in and day out without getting tired or bored, then you may be in the wrong business, or you aren't expressing yourself enough within your business to be fulfilled. Because when you're excited, when you believe in the words that you speak, when you're aligned with your brand and with who you really are, people can feel it. It's like it's palpable. It's physical. They get a gut feeling that you're the real deal, the real thing, someone they need to pay attention to. So think back to the last person who truly inspired you to change your life or try something new or different. What was it about them that inspired you? And can you imagine being that person for someone else? Not in a way that's copying anybody else, but in a way that's authentically you. Now the question is simple. Are you ready to step forward as the face and voice of your business and take responsibility for who you are, the signals you're sending, and the impact you have on others? Are you ready to show the world who you really are so you can inspire them to be more of who they are, simply by being more of who you are? Are you ready to model your work so you can show your audience what's possible when they say yes to the results, yes to the solution, and yes to the transformation that you offer? Are you ready to step into your role as messenger and become the flag bearer? So let me know in the chat box, are you ready? So I'm checking out your comments here, and it looks like you're all excited and you're ready to start. But before you start, there's one last thought that I wanted to leave you with. In just 1 hour, I couldn't cover my entire framework. We've only been able to cover a few things that will work on Facebook. But to be honest, that's just a taste of what personal branding can do for you. There's a lot more to creating a personal brand that captivates your audience than I could share with you today. For example, what specific qualities and attributes of your personality should you draw together in a unique personal brand that people are going to love? What are the best ways to home in and identify your unique feeling tone? Remember my story about Leonard Cohen? Even he couldn't identify the feeling tone of his work. What made him different? He had to ask someone else. So you need to not only know what it is, but figure out how to tap into it in a powerful way so your audience not only feels it, but begins to recognize you by it. But choose wisely, because you can't change your mind later without confusing people. So what are your core personal values and beliefs, which affect everything you put out into the world, and powerfully signal to your audience what you stand for and whether they should trust you? How do you pick the right stories that represent core themes of your life that will matter to your audience? How do you take complete control of your personal appearance so that the first impression you're sending is the right one when people see you in person, in a photograph, or on a video? And that's just one of the elements of my personal branding framework. There's another 2 you need to figure out that are more important than what you know. Things like, what's the best way to express all this through your words, through your emails, your social media posts, your presentations, your videos? This is also referred to as your unique personal brand voice. Will you have signature words, phrases, sound bites, and mottos that you use on a regular basis that are kind of signature to you? What are they? How do you incorporate all this into your personal brand assets? Everything that you produce, from your bio and business card to your website, your books and products. There are tricks that you need to know to make sure that you create a consistent impression everywhere you go. And I don't even have time to go into the third and last one, which is who you know. Just know that all these elements join together to form your personal brand, the brand of you, and each and every one of them play a critical role in shaping how your audience perceives and reacts to you. Each one of these elements can support or undermine your message, and all these signals work together to attract or repel your audience. So because there's so much more that I need to teach you about this, I've created a community called Personal Brand Power, where through a carefully structured training program, I'm teaching people to step forward as messengers and build a tribe around them. So with your permission, I'd like to take just 3 to 5 minutes to tell you about how it works and how you can join if you're ready to build your tribe and transform your business by tapping into the power of you. And I can see here in your chat, yes, I'm ready, I'm a messenger, says Moira. Carla says, I've been a bit tentative, but maybe knowing yourself better will help you step forward. Joyce says, yes, yes, yes. Carla says, ready, been doing it by accident and feeling like something was missing. Sarah, so ready. Inez, getting there. Africa, I'm ready. So a lot of people saying yes, 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 which is awesome. So here's what I want to do. With your permission now, I'm going to take about 3 to 5 minutes to tell you how this works and how you can join us if you're ready to build your tribe and transform your business by tapping into the power of you. And then right after that, I'm going to move on to Q&A. I already see you've got some questions, and I want to answer all your questions about personal branding, specifically how to use it to build your tribe and your specific business. So when you join us in Personal Brand Power, you're going to receive access to 5 video training sessions that I've created where I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about how to find your personal brand and express it through everything you do. So here's what you're going to learn. In Module 1, your personal brand blueprint, you're going to learn about the #1 trap that people who are insanely good at what they do often fall into when it comes to personal branding and how to avoid it. You're going to discover the very same secret of amplification used by superstars like Oprah, Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, and entrepreneurs like you and me that actually allows you to accentuate and amplify the best of who you are and attract fans to you in a big way. You're going to master the formula for uncovering your superpower, the one unique and amazing quality that you and only you possess, and the one that will set you apart from everybody else in your market. Then in Module 2, The Secret Life of Your Personal Brand, you'll master the tiny but vitally important signals that cause your prospects to form an opinion about you and to use them to instantly capture their hearts and minds. You're going to use my powerful exercises to become laser focused and strategic about how you project yourself to your prospects. And you'll harness the power of the why and learn the reason why it's the cornerstone of your personal branding success. Now, Session 3 is all about tapping into your unique personal brand voice. You'll learn to take all the unique qualities that make you who you are and use them to create a unique voice that your fans are going to recognize from a mile away. You'll also discover your signature words and phrases, and I'll show you the ones that are going to work like magic to bring you all the fans and customers you can handle. Plus, you'll learn how to harness the power of your values and beliefs to craft your superhero story, your bios, along with all the mottos and slogans and phrases that you're going to use to actually share your brand with the world. In Session 4, you're going to see the real truth about why you can't be everywhere. When you know exactly the right places to focus your efforts, you're never going to wear yourself too thin trying to be everywhere, but it's still going to seem like you're everywhere. You'll also learn to capitalize on the scant 3 to 7 seconds that your average visitor gives you to convince them whether they should stick around or click away and never come back. You'll master the art of visual branding by sending the right visual signals using 3 incredibly potent elements to look like you, feel like you, and get noticed for all the right reasons. You're going to use my personal tactics for leveraging social media and email marketing in a way that reinforces your personal brand to your target audience and allows you to stand out above all the noise. And you'll follow my proven blueprint to package up all that brilliance of yours into a signature book, product, or training. Remember, what you create is more powerful than what you do or know. Then in Module 5, Welcome to the Brand of We, you'll learn the secrets of bringing new people into your world and expertly nurturing those who've already embraced your brand. You'll get my off-the-radar strategies to keep your tribe super engaged and build a deeper level of community, not just between you and your audience, but also with each other. You'll discover how to earn more money and create deeper customer relationships without having to constantly add more customers. And you'll acquire the skills to act as your own personal brand ambassador every moment of every day to build deep and lucrative customer relationships with your existing customers to ensure that they come back to you again and again. The usual price for this is $697, but because you came to this training, I'm going to open up access for a one-time investment of $497 or 3 payments of, I think, $197 to really inspire you to get started. So just click the orange button that you're going to see below in a second, and you'll go to our Personal Brand Power page. When you get there, you'll see a big green Get Started button. Just click that, and I'd love to work with you. Now let me share with you the best part. When you invest today, in addition to this practical and in-depth personal brand training, you're also going to get 5 valuable bonuses to help you on your journey to create a lucrative and loved personal brand. So your first bonus is valued at $47 a month, and it's complimentary access to the private Facebook group only for Personal Brand Power students and alumni. So this vibrant community is going to be invaluable as you grow and build your personal brand. Your second bonus is valued at $97, and it's our famous Personal Brand Showcase. So we've spent hours scouring the internet, really finding great examples of people who are just like you, stepping forward as the face of their brand. And we found 6 amazing examples that we've collected together into a personal brand showcase in the membership area. So we dissect each one and show you exactly what they're doing and give you the key takeaways for each. So this is meant to be an inspiration for you as you begin to make your way with personal branding. Your third bonus, valued at $97, is a 90-minute session with Ariana Hall, the world's leading coach on self-expression and authenticity. The session is called 3 Seconds to Engage Your Audience, and it's never been released outside of this program. So Ariana helps you work through any unconscious blocks or tics that you've got with your self-expression and shows you where to focus your energy so your audience gets the most out of what you're saying. So I coached with Ariana privately for years, so I could actually step up and do what I'm doing here today. Your fourth bonus, valued at $97, is from Brad Axelrad, and he's a founding member of the Association of Transformational Leaders. It's also a never-before-released 90-minute session for my Message to Money live event, and it's called Face Your Dragon, Share Your Message. So people in the audience literally had breakthroughs during this session as Brad guided them into and through the fears that were getting in the way of sharing their message with the world. And I saw in the comments that some of you were still, getting ready. So this is going to really help you if you're kind of in that path of needing to get beyond your fears. So Brad's actually a semi-pro motocross racer, and he knows a thing or two about busting through enormous amounts of fear. And he's actually good friends with Alexis too. So your fifth bonus is a powerful set of audio vocal exercises and warm-ups from award-winning performer and international authority on vocal empowerment, Ariella Forstein. So a lot of people neglect their voice and they forget to warm up before they speak. And as a result, it's like the performance isn't as powerful as it could have been. So these exercises will make sure that you've got the chops to carry your personal brand voice and tell your story. So let's recap what you're getting here. You're getting the full personal brand power training, over 10 hours of in-depth video training to help you create your very own lucrative and loved personal brand, plus 5 bonuses worth over $350 in extra value. Access to our private Facebook group, the Personal Brand Showcase, Ariana Hall's 3 Seconds to Engage Your Audience training, Brad Axelrad's never-before-released session on facing your dragons and sharing your message, the Ariella Approach vocal exercises and warm-ups. So that's $357 worth of extra value, and we're not done yet. So when you invest live on the call today, you're also going to get this extra bonus that I saved for last because it's the most important bonus of all, and it's only available live on this call. So if you're listening on the replay, I'm sorry, it's too late to grab this bonus. So with this extra bonus gift, you can send one aspect of your personal brand to me for review, whether that's your logo, your bio, your story, your Facebook page, and I'll look it over and record detailed audio feedback just for you. So you'll have an extra set of eyes, a professional perspective on one key element of your personal brand. So personal brand is kind of like using a plant cutting to grow a new plant. If you've got that one little snippet, that one piece that really works, that kind of captures the essence of who you are, then you can replicate that out into everything you do. So I'd love to help you create that one little piece if you take action while we're live on this call. So that makes the total of bonuses that you're getting on the call. And okay, what is that? I'm not very good at math. I think it's about $454. So finally, when you invest $497 today, I want you to know that you're doing so with 100% security because you're covered by our no question asked 30-day money back guarantee. If you take the time to go through our course and decide that you don't like it, then return it at any stage within 30 days, and our team is going to arrange a full refund. So before you make the decision to work with me, I just wanted to share with you what one personal brand power student by the name of Mary Ann Einerson said recently. She said, I've tried 4 different web design companies at this point, eating up more than 2 years in the last dribble of savings. I feel that I've tried everything but letting my brand reflect more of me. I'm now bringing more of me into my website, and it feels great. And then there's my student Emily Filaramo, who said, I spent a significant 5-figure sum in masterminds with other gurus before I found Marisa. Marisa's low-ticket programs, less than $500, deliver more value and go deeper than masterminds costing $15,000. If I just spent $1,000 with Marisa in the first place, I would have gotten to where I am today faster and with a lot more money in my bank account. Marisa goes deep in helping you stand out as the leader. I used to sound like every other life and health coach, and now I get noticed because I'm being bold and edgy with who I am and what I have to offer. I'm now getting noticed by other personal development gurus because of my story and because of my brand. People emailed me to say how powerful they think my website is. My following is growing fast because of my message. So I think you'll agree with me that it's time for you to finally step out of the shadows and into the spotlight by building a personal brand that will lift you above the white noise and into that 1% of entrepreneurs who get the premium clients and the exposure and the coverage and the book deals and the stages and all the success. The 1% of entrepreneurs who become the leaders that we know and love, the leaders who change the world. And you don't have to go it alone. For just $497 or 3 payments of, I think, $197, you can join us in this in-depth training that not only shows you the path, but will gather a community of people around you who have all stepped forward as the face and voice of their brands, and who can support and uplift you in creating a business that you love, a business that expresses who you are, and a business that makes a positive impact on those around you. So if all this sounds good, then click the big orange button below this video or go to personalbrandpower.me/go and get started. Remember that you have until the end of this call to get the fast action bonus where I review one key element of your personal brand. All right, so I think it's time to hit the Q&A and answer your questions about personal branding and about the Personal Brand Power program. So I see Kiva over there, and I think you're muted. You might need to unmute yourself, but you've been keeping track of questions and also some of the really big ahas that we've had. I think we've had some ahas that I didn't have time to read out, but I'd love to read out now. Yeah.
It's just so great to see members of our community really getting this. I can see from the comments that the way that you've been teaching this has really landed for people. And I see some of the folks here that are in some of our higher end coaching programs, and we talk a lot in our coaching calls about using Facebook and really developing relationships there. And so I'm just so personally appreciative that you've really given our folks here a framework to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see some questions specifically around sort of Facebook versus blogging. And is blogging dead? Should people be using these same strategies in the way that they blog? We'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so blogging is definitely not dead at all. Blogging is a really great place to get people back to your site, and a lot of people are starting to use Facebook almost more like a blog, and that's been really effective too. But yeah, these strategies definitely work on Facebook, on your blog as well. I mean, I tell a lot of stories. I go really personal. You want to draw people in right away. You want to have images. You want to do a lot of the things that I said. A blog a lot of times can get more content rich, and there are strategies around that too, how to actually teach and not just tell stories and create relationships. So that's the key differentiation, is I think a blog allows you to go deeper in actual content, and Facebook tends to stay a little bit more personal, a little bit more story-based.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so challenging for us as individuals to find our vocal, our tone and our voice and what makes us unique?
I think for a lot of ways. One is it's hard to see yourself as other people see you. And I think there's a lot of a lot of people suppress who they really are because we think it's not okay. We think we're not okay. We think there's something wrong with us. And it's this natural feeling, and I think so many of us have had moments in our childhood with our parents, with our family at school, where we were like ourselves and we were just all excited and someone shut us down for being that way.
Yeah.
And so it gets very easy to kind of shut that down. And the thing about that is that it can be confronting to other people like who are not as self-expressed as you are, you know, when you have that level of self-expression. But at the same time, it's like that level of self-expression that sort of magnetizes everybody to you. So we all want to be around that person who's vibrant and alive and expressed and everything else, you know? But at the same time, it's kind of scary to step out and be willing to be that person because, you know, we think, well, people aren't going to like us. They're going to look at us funny. I mean, I remember a time not that long ago where I can be kind of a bit of a spaz, you know what I mean? And I'm high energy. And I go into a restaurant with my dad. I'm like, la, 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 la. He holds my arm. He grabs my arm, and he's like, Marisa, someone's going to hear you. Oh. And I was like, oh, my God. Oh no, you know, someone's going to hear me. And I just realized, wow, he is actually a little bit threatened by my level of self-expression. But at the same time, I've tripled my business 3 years in a row. We've built this massive following of like over 30,000. You know, we're going to hit a 7-figure business this year, so clearly it's working. And there are contexts where you don't want to offend. You know, there are contexts where you don't want to ruffle feathers. But that context is not business, because if you want to have that extraordinary business, if you want to be really successful, if you want to be different, like if you're like a coach, for example, there are so many, you know, hundreds of thousands of coaches out there, if not millions of coaches. So why would someone choose you if you're just like everybody else? You know, why would someone choose you if you're kind of holding back, right? Why would someone choose to work with you? And that's what this stuff is all about, right? Oh, and I did want to welcome Mary Lou to the program. So welcome, Mary Lou, and congratulations for signing up because you get the fast action bonus of the personal brand review with me. So I'm stoked.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this question explicitly asked, but I'm reading it kind of underneath the lines of some of the comments. And I think that often people see their Facebook personal page as kind of, you know, where they relate to family and friends, and then they're trying to use their fan page to attract clients. And there's almost this not wanting to be seen on the personal page, like, you know, coming out of the closet of what you're really up to in the world. And I'm so curious about your take on that, your advice.
Sure. So a lot of people, and actually, a lot of those examples I gave you were on personal pages. So the interesting thing about personal pages is that's where people who you have real relationships tend to be connected to. So a lot of times it's influencers, it's people in your value network, your peer network. It can be your existing students or customers. It can be people who've known you for different aspects of your life. And so because of that, these are such warm connections that when you step out in the right way and you've gotten very clear and congruent about who you are. You don't want to do this if you're all over the place. I wouldn't recommend, because then it's just confusing to people and they're like, I don't know who you are and I don't trust you. But if you're really clear about that feeling tone and you're really clear about your core values and you're clear about some of the themes or the life motifs that you want to express, then and you start to do this, I think it gets a massive amount of attention. Like Marshall only does stuff on his personal page, and he has like everybody, you know, you've got like really major people who are following him and paying attention. And it's interesting, just recently at the Superhero Summit, I launched a new product, and it was a huge success. And some of the people who bought were like old colleagues from my filmmaker days. My brother's ex-girlfriend bought, you know? And, you know, it's just like, you don't have no idea, like, what those connections do. So, and I get people even from my past lives, they're like, wow, I've been watching your webinars, and that's like my mom's friend, you know, and like, really, you know? And I'm just kind of shocked at how much this work is relevant to so many people that I never would have expected would be relevant. And just by putting myself out there and saying, you know what, this is what I'm doing because I'm passionate about this. I'm not trying to hide that I'm doing. I'm not like, you know, secretly a closet entrepreneur that I'm, you know, afraid of, you know, the fact that I'm in business, because I'm in business to change the world. So why not just wear that as, I think, who was the big musician who said, you know, let your freak flag fly, you know, or just really letting myself out there and just saying, you know, hey, here's who I am. This is what I'm doing. And, you can like it, and if you don't like it, if I'm offending you, then it's okay. You can
Not
leave
for you.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it's not for you. And then the people who really love me are going to step forward, and those are the ones that I build a relationship with. And I'd rather have that community who loves me because I've said, you know what, I've put my line in the sand and said this is who I am, than people who just were all lukewarm about me and barely noticed me, you know?
Totally, totally. So there you go, Carla. You can just let your freak flag fly.
Yes, and she says business is not the context to not ruffle feathers.
Yes,
Right.
amen.
If you look at the greatest innovations known to man, you know, they ruffled feathers. Like people thought like planes, airplanes. They thought people were crazy for developing airplanes, you know? Any major invention, any major new leap in human evolution, ingenuity, consciousness, someone thought someone was a freak when they first started talking about that, right? Someone was like, whoa, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
out there. I can't believe you're sharing that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll share. I just had a call today with a woman that I've been, dancing with in this world for a few years, and she said, wow, you're just letting it all hang out these days, aren't you?
yeah.
And but in the meantime, when she was ready to hire a business coach to take her business to the next level, she said, I'm the only person she's calling. So this is the power, and I really believe that given everything that's happening in email marketing and with Google and everything changing, that being able to do this boldly and bravely through Facebook and social media is a huge piece of building relationships with the people who are just waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, I guess, on your take on that and if you're seeing the same thing.
Oh, definitely. I think that we're in a we're in a different stage of internet marketing. Like
That's
three
right.
or 4 years ago, people could just talk about Kindle books. Everyone's like, "Whoa, Kindle books! Tell me more!" You know. But now we've all heard about Kindle books already, right? Or we've all heard about these strategies like I'm going to learn how to do a podcast, right? And then everybody's trying to do podcasts and they're not being successful because they haven't really come back to the fundamentals of what makes them different and why people would choose to work with them over everybody else. So when you're just brand new and you're talking about something that nobody has talked about before, you can get noticed. But once that market's become a little bit more saturated and you've got so many people talking about the same kinds of things, then it's not about like the features of your product or how good you are or your level of expertise. It becomes about a lot of the intangible things that are under the surface that attract people towards you. So, the people who are making it big with those strategies that everybody's teaching, like podcasting, they have a personal brand. They're stepping forward. They're leading. They're kind of coming out as themselves, which is why people, choose to follow them. I mean, if you look at YouTube and people who become YouTube famous, it's because they're just like kind of sharing from the cuff, have their heart in the sleeve, being authentic. And people resonate so much more with that sometimes than even the most professionally polished videos.
That's right. So. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So if there's people here on the call with us that are on the fence, maybe they think they're not quite ready yet, what would you say would kind of be the thing to ask yourself on how to make this decision to move forward or not?
Yeah, I think that the decision to ask yourself is there's two choices. One is, do you have something that can help a lot of people, that can transform people's lives? Do you think that that thing is bigger than your own fears and your own reservations and your own doubts and your own internal criticisms? And if you think that your message and your talent and your expertise is bigger than your fears, then I would encourage you to say yes, because once you start going for it, you realize that those fears become smaller and smaller, but it's the action towards that make those fears smaller and smaller. And the other question that I would ask is, who do you want to be for your tribe? Who do you want to be for the world? Who do you want to be for your audience? And that's a really important question to be able to identify, because I think a lot of people aren't conscious of the impact they have on others. A lot of people aren't conscious of how they're making people feel. A lot of people aren't conscious of how, you read these email marketing and I'm just like, ugh, I'm feeling pain reading them sometimes from people. And it's really easy to let a lot of unconscious values or just take words from other people or swipes from other people and try to make them your own and end up sounding just completely inauthentic and chasing a lot of people away. So if you really take the time, I think, and it's been the foundation of my success, to understand yourself and who you are in business and who you want to be for the world, and then to consciously and strategically craft that through everything that you're putting out there, your entire personal brand universe, all the things that you create, the relationships that you've got, the communities that you're forming, with your audience, all of those things, then it's really incredibly valuable because you can become that, and you can kind of turn it on like a switch, really, and it's kind of amazing because I could be having a bad day, I could be kind of slumping around in my pajamas feeling not so good or not so attractive, and then I've got an interview for a podcast or something, and I can tap in. It's like a muscle memory that you build, and I can tap into that kind of feeling or place inside me that knows the best version of myself, that allows me to step through whatever day I'm having, whatever circumstances I'm having, and be that. Because that's what I need to be to make my business a success, and that's what I need to be to get my big message out to the world. And it allows me to kind of, in a way, transcend myself, my circumstance, the excuses that I have, that everybody has, that keeps us back, and say, you know what? I can step into this role that's still fully me, but it's the best part of me whenever I want to now. And that's a really powerful place to be in. So I never the cat's never got my tongue. I'm never confused or at a loss for words. I know what to say because I created that muscle memory through doing a lot of the exercises that I give you in Personal Brand Power, through really, taking the time to say, you know what? I am my biggest asset in my business. So I need to get clear on who I am and how I'm coming across, because otherwise I could be sabotaging and undermining my success and not even knowing it. So going after and doing that very tactical course, it doesn't matter if you got something in yourself that's holding you back,
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do see that.
Teresa. Yeah.
Sure. Wanted to welcome Michaeline. Sorry, I just slaughtered that name. Michaeline and Joyce into the program. So welcome to Personal Brand Power, Mary Lou, Michaeline, and Joyce. And just a reminder that you do have until the end of the call to get the fast action bonus of the Personal Brand Review with me. And also Elizabeth. I wanted to welcome Elizabeth too. So welcome, Elizabeth. And Kiva, so how would you, do you consider that you have a personal brand?
I do, very much. It has a lot to do with being an entrepreneurial mama. I talk a lot on my Facebook profile about being in this world with children and what that feels like and how to navigate that. And I think there's also this piece that fits very much with the whole Eyes Wide Open brand of telling the truth, telling it like we see it, not propagating myths or untruths that exist in this industry, and really sharing the inner workings of being in collaboration, being in community and partnership in a way that is very refreshing, because for all of you all who are very familiar with Alexis, that's what Eyes Wide Open is all about, and it's certainly what I'm all about too. So yeah, I guess I do. I just never thought of it that way before today, so thank you.
Well, it's really, I think, important to get to really clearly identify this across all the different outlets and all the different aspects. It's not just the feeling tone. It's like, what are your values? What are your beliefs? Why do you do what you do? What's the life experience that brought you here? How can you consciously identify all of those different things and kind of seed them into what you do? And I see in the chat, Caroline here says, I do this sometimes, but not consistently, not intentionally, not with good story style. Right. So I see that there's work to do. And that's the thing, is it's hard to kind of realize how many aspects that this manifests in. I teach people how to find their 3-word style statement, even how you dress. In the course, it's like, find your 3-word style statement so you always know what to buy and what to wear when you get on camera or on stage. Like, that stuff kind of creates more of that instant impression that people have. And I think that that's, really, really important,
I totally agree with you. And I think this is a muscle, that learning to tell stories in a way that engages people and learning to live your brand and really lean into it in a way that's fun, not contrived or put on, but really is an authentic expression and extension of who you are. The more you do it, the more fun and easy and comfortable it becomes.
Definitely. And I'm reading some of the big ahas and questions back here, and I think they're really good. So Carla says, act as if I already were an icon. Wow. Yeah. Act as if you already were an icon. Can you imagine what that actually means when you do it? To act as if. And she also says, my mistake can be a big opportunity. And when I post, if I'm sincerely connecting to the heart of people, I will connect with my people. And Moira says, love, be the conscious author, be authentic, real, vulnerable, and love sharing the behind-the-scenes stories and being specific. So I see that Mary Ellen Nash says, how often do you think you should post? One of the things that I teach in personal brand power is, maybe Facebook's not going to be your thing, but maybe it's going to be your blog. Like, I'm a lot more active on my blog than I am on Facebook. Maybe it's going to be email marketing. I know you guys are really big in email marketing. Maybe it's going to be a book or a product line or a service line. Maybe it's going to be photographs. Like, what is the elements that are going to really allow you to express who you are? And then there are specific strategies in each one of those areas. So in terms of Facebook, like, if Facebook is a really big strategy for you, if you find that it's one of the best outlets to reach your audience and express your personal brand, then I recommend posting at least once a day, if not 2 or 3 times a day. But the more consistent you are with it, the bigger the response you get. So some people think they can just post once in a while and they're going to get this rave response, but people have forgotten they existed, at that point in time. And I remember Murray, like a year or 2 ago, said something along the lines of, like, wow, nobody is kind of commenting on my Facebook. And he hadn't posted for a long time, and now he's posting fairly regularly, and people are really actively engaging with him. So it's that kind of process of stepping up and doing something consistently, and not just doing it consistently from a time-based perspective, but doing it consistently from a branding perspective of who you actually are. So your personal brand is so many different attributes. How do you weave a consistent picture through, into your brand? So, and I see Michelin, I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong, said, I think I may have been trying to come across as normal when my life has been anything but normal. Many challenges and healings. That's a really great revelation. And Carla also said she's been a revelation of not being safe in business, not trying to please people, which is an awesome revelation as well. Yeah. So, any other questions here? I think that Carla says something like, when I share my Facebook page onto my profile on purpose, no one notices or responds. When I posted business post on profile by accident, they noticed. So when I share, okay, let me try to work that one out. It's a little bit confusing. When I share my Facebook page onto my profile on purpose, no one notices, but when I do it by accident, they notice. So there's probably something to do with the tone of how you're sharing. Because it's not that fun to say, go like my Facebook business page, or, these direct promotions don't work that well. So maybe if you're intentionally being kind of direct and promotional, it's not working. I don't know what you mean by accident or on purpose, but I think the main thing is that being strategic is the most important thing. So, and consistent. So I see that Bridget has joined Personal Brand Power too. So welcome to the program, Bridget. We're excited to have you. And just a quick reminder that you do have until the end of this live session to sign up and get the extra fast action bonus of a one-on-one, my doing a personal brand review of some aspect of your personal brand. So you can kind of create that little seed that you can kind of magnify out to everybody else. So that's awesome. All right. Anything else that you can see there, Kiva, or any questions that you've got about personal branding?
I don't see any questions. I'm just so grateful, Marisa, that you've brought this to our community and really, I think, opened up some inspiration for people to begin stretching a little bit out of their comfort zone and really starting the inquiry into who they are, hopefully with your support, to really start to see results. I personally know how powerful this is. And so I'm just really thrilled for everyone who's saying yes.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know it can feel kind of challenging or scary to do. And it's only challenging or scary before the inquiry has begun, I think, because it's like, oh my gosh, what are the implications? But what I found and what I've noticed with my students is that a lot of times they stick the toe in the water and they're like, oh, I don't know about this.
Like, oh,
I know. And then they see the response. They see people change the way they react to them. They see like love notes coming through into their email inbox and into their Facebook page, and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, people have just been waiting to see me. They've been waiting to see me express myself. And I remember the first time I told my story and I sent it to my list, I was scared to death about it. And to this day, I have people approaching me at events who had known me for years and said, you know what? That's the first time I really understood where you came from and who you are. And now I feel like I get you, you know? And it cracked everything open. Before I'd been this like, you know, hey, I'm trying to be this businesswoman. Exactly, all together and all buttoned up. And what I realized is just by being myself, it became so much more relatable. And, you know, people really just started to engage and follow us and buy from us at a different level because there was trust and there was connection there. And, you know, I think that that's really what business is about, is relationship and trust and connection, and not just about the strategies or the products or the programs. And so if you're, I think, not sure about bringing yourself into your business, it does have to be something that I would encourage you to give it a try. Just try posting. Do me a favor and try posting something based on what you learned today on your Facebook. Posting something different, right? And see what happens. See what happens when you share yourself in a way that you haven't shared yourself before. And you don't have to be explicit or share something that you're really scared to share. Just start telling more, you know, from your life, whether it's stories or just what you care about. Share more of yourself and see what happens, because I guarantee you people are going to start reacting to you differently, and you can't really know it until you see it happening, you know? So, okay, I think we're going to just draw this to a close. So you've just got another couple of minutes to get in on the fast action bonus. I see it's 1:41 p.m. Pacific, so we'll leave that bonus up until 2, because I know sometimes people have trouble signing up and all of that. But I wanted to leave you with the thought before I end. So here's the thing, you know, if you want people to really flock to your business and share your message, then you really need a personal brand that's meaningful. You know, a lot of people don't say, here, go buy this coaching package. They say, you know what, you've got to meet this woman. She transformed my life, you know? When she did this or when she said that or when she listened in this way, it changed me. That's what they say, right? They don't go, she's got a 3-month coaching package and I recommend that you sign up, right? That's not what happens. And if you really want to be able to charge that premium for your knowledge and time and expertise, then you need to have a personal brand that's relevant to people. And if you want to become that #1 authority in your field, then you do need to have a personal brand that's memorable, you know? So it's not like they meet you once and they forget about you and then they can try to Google you, but they don't remember your name. It's like, you know, be memorable. So they talk about you and they share you with people. And that's really what it's all about in terms of stepping forward, not just as a business owner, but I think as a visionary and as a leader, as a change agent, as someone who can inspire others to be more and to do more. And that's where the big transformation takes place and where the big results happen, not just in your own business, but for the people that you work with. So thank you so much for hosting today. This was a lot of fun. All right, I think you're muted. I can't hear you. Yes, unmute.
Unmute is always so good when you're talking. Yeah, thank you so much, Marisa. It was just a pleasure to have you, and your openness and willing to give so much content is beyond appreciated, truly.
You're welcome. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you all go out and implement this and actually experiment. I guess I'd like to ask you to all go to Facebook and just try this out, okay?
Go play.
Yes. All right. Go out there and live your message. Bye, everyone.
Bye.